Morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm Dr. Malea Jensen. Welcome to Dr. J's Prescription for Health. This is where you have an opportunity to ask questions and hopefully get answers. I am a family practice physician. I've been in practice for about 27 years, maybe a little over. And I am practicing in Des Moines, Iowa. Where are you guys listening from? I'd love to hear where you're listening from. I'll hang on while looks like they're gathering up listeners right now. So if you're listening right now, where are you listening from? I'll hang on here for a second. Thought today we would talk a little bit about the brain. Yesterday we spoke of preparing for our later years and how we need to do that. And one of the things that always comes up in regards to how we and our ability to live on our own is cognition. And that is a big one. If you are not cognitively well, your chances of living alone in your later years is not good. It's the chances are not good. It is what it is. El Paso, Texas, good morning. Good morning, Misty in Ohio. And Jingle is in Canada. And Diane, where is Diane listening from? All right, you guys. So with that being said, and we're talking a little bit about preparing for our later years, slowing progression of cognitive decline is in our best interest. So the brain is about 2 pounds sitting in our head. It is about 60% fat. The cells of the brain are neurons and glial cells. And the neurons are a cell that has a body to it, and that's called the soma. And then from the body are little tentacles. And those tentacles are called dendrites. And the dendrites are receiving signals. And then you have a tail that's coming from the body. So you got the body, the soma, and then the little dendrites coming out from it that receive signals, take it into the body, and then out the tail is the axon. And the axon sends signals. So that is one of the cells of the brain, a neuron. It deals with thought and memory and movement. All the things that you can think about with your brain come from the neurons. And then there's what we call helper cells in the brain, and they help out the neurons, and they're called glial cells. Glial cells are astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, microglial cells, and ependymal cells, ependymal cells, EPENDYMAL, ependymal cells. Now, each one of those have, they're workers, so they each have a function to them. The astrocytes deal with your structure and support and supplying nutrients. The oligodendrocytes are the ones that form the myelin sheath around the axon. The microglial cells are like your immune cells or your cleaner uppers. And then, hey, Jaden. And then the ependymal cells are the ones that line your ventricles. And they also produce cerebral spinal fluid. All right, so we are live on YouTube and Instagram this morning. This is not medical advice. It is for information purposes only. If you have a question, let me know. But right now we are talking about the brain cells, the different kinds, the neurons and the glial cells. We talked yesterday about remaining intact in your later years. And one of the things that is important is to remain with good cognitive skills. If you are losing cognition, that is one big giant way of putting you into a nursing home. And so we need to maintain brain health. Our diet plays a huge role in this. Who you hang out with plays a huge role. You want to hang out with positive people, people who educate you, do not bring you down. Your brain will be healthier. You want to sleep well at night. If you are not getting into deep restorative sleep each night, then you risk brain decline. Things that can decrease our ability to get into deep sleep is maybe eating too late at night. If you are eating too late at night, you're not going to get to sleep or stay asleep as well as if you don't eat late at night. A consistent bedtime and getting up is actually more important than the amount of time you are sleeping. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. So if you maintain going and getting to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock every single day, getting up at 6 or 7 every single day, and you maintain consistency, that is very important for your brain and healing. Avoiding blue light before you go to bed, I mean, that's just common sense in order to get perfect sleep. Obviously, don't eating sugar late at night. Sugar is going to help you stay awake. It releases and causes the formation of blood sugar, and blood sugar raises insulin, and insulin activates the sympathetic nervous system, and sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight, so you're going to be anxious. Lucy says blue light can also taint your deep sleep. Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so sleep is important. Diet is important. Exercise is important. What type of exercise? You're going to have people go back and forth on this. I think resistance training is the best. I think doing some HIIT therapy is very important. What about food for your brain? Most of us know that our brain will take in sugar, glucose, as a fuel source. It will also take in ketones. If it has both, what do you think it will use first? It will actually take in ketones. But you see, that can never be, unless you're taking in exogenous ketones, that can never be, you can never have a time where you have ketones and blood sugar at the same time. If you have blood sugar on board, you will use it. If you have ketones on board, you will use that. But you can only get ketones if your blood sugar is low. If blood sugar is low, insulin's low, then you can have ketones. You'll be burning or breaking down fatty acids to use as an energy source. Some people take exogenous ketones. I go back and forth on this. If you're taking exogenous ketones and you are doing well with it and you like it, it gives you energy, it gives you focus, it's helping your brain function, do it. Yeah, I think keeping sugar down, I think it's important to have ketones on board all the time. Your heart loves ketones, your brain loves ketones. Here's a thing that comes up a lot, and that is because the brain is 60% fat, that we need to consume fat and cholesterol for the brain to be healthy. Well, I'm going to tell you that it's probably not important what amount of fat or cholesterol you're taking in, because cholesterol cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. The cholesterol molecule itself is too big. So it can't cross the blood-brain barrier, and that is why the brain cells are able to make their own cholesterol. They form it, they synthesize cholesterol on their own. They know they need it and they get it. So it doesn't matter what you are consuming as far as cholesterol is concerned. It's, some people say, well, we need fat and cholesterol to eat that because our brain is made of fat and cholesterol. It is, but again, what we eat can't cross that blood-brain barrier. We need the brain to be healthy so it makes its own cholesterol for its diet, for its energy. 10%, well, maybe upwards to 15% of that brain fat is DHA. DHA is an essential fatty acid. So if you remember, there's saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and polyunsaturated fat. And polyunsaturated fat is composed of omega-3s, omega-6, omega-9. The omega-3s are DHA and EPA. So we need DHA for our brain. Now, our brain cannot really synthesize. It can convert just like other cells, but it is important that we're getting in enough omega-3s. Does that look like taking omega-3 supplements? I don't think so. I believe that they are probably not healthy for us. They're rancid. They're spoiled by the time we get them. What has good omega-3s? Well, for me, you could think about fish, but you're looking at contamination. You could look at grass-fed animals, like grass-fed beef. You could look at pasture-raised eggs. Those are going to be higher in omega-3s. We need about 2 grams a day, if not 4 grams a day. All right. Lucy says, I heard this doctor saying 2 kiwis before sleep can help with latency sleep because of the serotonin levels. I ask, what about the sugar? He says kiwi is low glycemic. Well, I don't know, Lucy. One, you can look up this. What part of a kiwi, how much percentage-wise is fructose? How much percentage-wise is glucose? I am under the belief that any sugar consumed, especially at bedtime, will spike, now this is glucose, will spike insulin. Insulin is honestly going to make you fat while you're sleeping. It's going to, because it's pushing the sugar into fat cells. It's going to increase insulin. Insulin increases our sympathetic nervous system. I can't see with a high insulin going to bed is going to help you sleep. Unless somebody, explains it to me, I'm not under that belief. And, our brain is very good at making its own neurochemicals or neurotransmitters. I don't think I want to be eating a fruit before I go to bed. And the fructose, it's going directly to the liver. And that's, causing fatty organ disease, fatty liver. Those are my thoughts. I wouldn't eat fruit even if it did help me with serotonin levels. I'm not a fruit eater, nor will I ever be. Monica says, I like kiwi. Okay, you can like it. Doesn't mean that everything you like is good for you. Lucy says, I agree with the kiwi explanation. I'm not taking my chances. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter for our brain. We have 3 main neurotransmitters in our brain: serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. And serotonin is one of those. It's a calming neurotransmitter. It is made from tryptophan. Melatonin is also made from tryptophan. So melatonin is very important before we go to bed. In order to sleep, our brain makes melatonin. However, as we get older, we don't make as much. If we are exposed to blue light, like we're watching TV, like some other person commented they watch YouTube before going to sleep, that blue light is decreasing the amount of melatonin that's produced in our brain. I go back and forth on whether or not taking melatonin is good for us. I mean, there's been some studies that say it's great for us, and then other studies that say it leads to cancer. Where am I from? I am from Iowa. I'm in the United States. I am a family practice physician in the middle of Iowa. So thank you for asking. Where are you guys listening from? Cairo asked me to give a shout out to their friend Nick Gurr. Today is his birthday. Nick, happy birthday. What a blessed Sunday. I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay. So the DHA, the essential omega-3 that is important for our brain function, being 10 to 15% of the 60% of fat that's in our brain, the DHA supports membrane structures. So the brain membranes, the structure of the brain. It's vital for the brain to even develop, okay? I think I could go into the different foods, but again, if you're a plant eater, go ahead, eat avocado, eat flax, eat those things. I'm not a plant eater, so I stick to grass-fed beef and pasture-raised eggs. That's just for me. If, I did tell you that if we eat fat and cholesterol, it can't cross the blood-brain barrier, so we're not really using that for brain structure. But I will say this, when we consume a lot of carbohydrates, and carbohydrates lead to the production of small, dense LDLs, we can get atherosclerosis in our brain arteries and arterioles and capillaries, just like we can get our atherosclerosis in our heart arteries. So if we have atherosclerosis in our heart, we likely have it in our carotids, our brain, our peripheral arterial system, everything. So, we got to be careful with consuming sugar. It's making small, dense LDLs, and those are culprits of plaque. They are components of plaque. Lucy says, it's my friend Steve's birthday too. Happy birthday, fellows. I hope he is listening. Steve, I hope you're listening. Happy birthday. You and Nick, I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you for listening. Ben Dover asks, can you give some insight about dopamine and dopamine crisis? What do you mean by a dopamine crisis? Are you meaning low dopamine? Because we use dopamine in kind of all the wrong reasons. And what I mean by that is we do things to increase dopamine, increase our endorphins. Endorphins raise our dopamine. And there are medications that raise dopamine. One of those being Wellbutrin. It is Wellbutrin, or bupropion, has been on the market for years and years and years. And it is supposed to help with addictions. It helps with addiction. So if you have an addiction for smoking, for instance, and if you take something like bupropion, it can bind to those dopamine receptors instead of nicotine and improve or improves our dopamine, yet it keeps us from being maybe addicted or continuing to smoke. Anything can be, alcohol can be an addiction. Shopping can be an addiction. Mowing your lawn can be an addiction. Shoveling your snow can be addictions. These addictions are raise endorphins that stimulate dopamine. Can you get too much dopamine? Yes. Can you overdose on Wellbutrin? Absolutely. Lesk wants me also to wish Nick, happy birthday, Nick. Happy Sunday and happy birthday to Nick Gurr. That's awesome. You guys, the YouTubers are starting to ask questions over here. I am from the United States. I am in Iowa, in the middle of Iowa, in Des Moines, Iowa. Lucy says, MCT is a plant too. Yes, usually it's coconut, medium chain triglycerides. We use short and medium chain triglycerides as those particular fatty acids are born to be burned. They give us energy. MCT oils like coconut are C12 and C10. They are small enough to avoid being packaged into a chylomicron. So we're speaking to Lucy's question on MCT oil. MCTs are medium chain triglycerides. They are born to be burned. When we take them in, usually from, a C12 or a C10, from, most people take it in as liquid from coconut, but it avoids being packaged. So if we were to, into chylomicrons, so if we were to eat a saturated fat, we take it in, and then bile, which is stored in your gallbladder if you have one, emulsifies fats that we take in, saturated fats. When we emulsify that, it gets taken up by something called and formed into a package called a chylomicron. That chylomicron in the small intestine goes in through the thoracic duct up into and around into the bloodstream. So that is the process of taking in fats, saturated fats. But medium chain triglycerides, they avoid that because of their carbon chain. They actually are burned before they're packaged into a chylomicron. Butter is usually, it's composed of both. It actually is composed of all three, but short chain fat, it's also a short chain fatty acid. And again, it's born to be burned. That's what's amazing. We can also make short chain fatty acids via fermentation. If you want to go into that, those are, talking about fats is pretty deep, but you guys are mainly talking about surface. Like, should we use short chain fatty acids? There was a doctor who treated her husband. I believe he had Alzheimer's. He's since passed away, but they treated him with MCT oil. She first started out with about a tablespoon of MCT oil. And, we're basically talking about ketones. And I don't know if ketones were big back then when she was treating her husband with Alzheimer's, but MCT oils, you start out maybe 1 tablespoon a day. Then you can bump up to 2 tablespoons a day, 3 tablespoons a day. I don't exactly know or remember how much MCT oil she was treating her husband with, but it is a brain energy. It's immediate energy. It helps with ketone production as long as, I think, the carbohydrates are kept low, which in and of itself is a ketogenic. It's a way to make ketones. So it's ketogenic. So if you're low carb, you're going to be ketogenic. If you're adding MCT, and the only reason I know this is years ago, I'm talking probably the late 1990s, early 2000s when I was bodybuilding, we were using MCT as an energy source. And it was a great energy source. It was a great supply of food. It does sometimes have a tendency to upset your stomach. So you do want to take it with, yes, it will. But Lucy says too much MCT will give you diarrhea. It'll give you nausea too. But with that being said, any amount of fat, too much, will go right through you. It's because you're not absorbing it. So if you're taking in too much, it's just not being absorbed and it's going out through your bowels. That's any fat, really. So yeah, too much MCT. So you want to go slow. I'm not sure whose question was this. I'm not sure how to answer that question for Hugh in regards to our body capable of more than what we think perceived exertion. I don't understand your question. David asks, can I see health benefits from eating ground beef, eggs, and tallow? I'm on a budget and can't afford ribeyes. Absolutely, David. I think eating even grocery store ground beef is better than the alternative of eating plant-based diet. That is my opinion. You could eat bacon, and bacon actually is very expensive, especially around here. You're looking at $7 a pound for bacon. When you can, like today, my mom eats a lot of ground beef, and today I went and bought 10 pounds. It was on sale for $3.98. Wow. So yeah, I bought 10 pounds and that will last her, maybe a week. And that's great. She does eat a lot of ground beef. It might last her 2 weeks. It depends on what we have. Sometimes she likes to have fish in her mix, and she does eat ribeyes. She actually eats better than I do, I would say. She eats about as well as my dogs. I tend to maybe limit. The only thing I would encourage her to do is to maybe stay away from as many carbs, the breads and the pasta and potatoes. Those are killers. But David, yes, absolutely. You can get by on ground beef, eggs. Try to get pasture-raised eggs if you can afford them. Tallow, again, try to get grass-fed tallow. But being on a budget, I totally get it. I mean, when we don't have jobs, and again, even if we have a job, but it doesn't permit us to be eating ribeye steaks every day. I mean, I watch people online. Trust me, I'm watching people online all the time. And, I wonder how they afford, because a good ribeye steak, you're looking at maybe $20 a pound. And so if you're eating, 12, 16 ounce ribeye steak every day, again, you have to decide where you're spending your money at. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. If you want to go to Starbucks and spend $20 a day, that's great. If I had $20 a day and I had a choice between Starbucks and a ribeye, I would choose a ribeye. That's worth my $20. Oh, so ground beef. Lucy says ground beef in California is $8.99 or $12.99. Is that what you're talking about, is ground beef, or are you talking about ribeyes? Let's see. If you guys have a question over on YouTube, it's hard to get to your questions. So put a Q in front of them. Jose, is that a medical question? Jose says, which is better gift for, hey, YouTube, or excuse me, you Instagrammers, if you want to chime in, which is a better gift for a first date, a pearl necklace or a collagen-rich facial? I'm not sure how to answer that. I think getting a pearl necklace for me would probably be a waste. And the collagen-rich facial might be a waste as well. However, if there's some exfoliation going on and there's some increased blood flow to the facial area, maybe somebody would prefer the collagen-rich facial. I don't know. Where are you guys sitting? How would you say, you Instagrammers? Okay. Misty says, Ohio local farm grass-fed what? Grass-fed ribeyes, grass-fed ground beef, $8.99. Sheila says, my dogs eat better than me too. I mean, I'm serious. My dogs, I make them, they know, they sit every morning. They sit by the stove because I make it fresh every day. So right now, I cut up probably 10, 12, 15 pounds of deer. And then I put it in a big giant 2-gallon container, and they will eat that for, I don't know, 3-4 days. We will eat deer meat, and then they get liver. So we kind of get a both types of liver. We get beef liver and we get chicken liver. And I don't know if they can tell the difference, but they get liver. And if they don't get fresh liver, they'll get freeze-dried liver. And we also get chicken hearts and chicken gizzards. So for those of you who are listening and you're in Iowa, check out your Fairway stores in the frozen section. There are some Fairways that get in from local farmers, gizzards, hearts, liver. They come in small containers, maybe like a cottage cheese container, and they're about $2 each. They're amazing. The gizzards, the hearts, the liver, honestly, they're amazing. I don't know what farm they come in. I think they're not organic, and I don't think they're pasture-raised, grass-fed. I don't think they are, because the label doesn't say it. But it's not like a label that was, it's a Fairway label, so they put their own label on it. So I'm guessing it's from local farmers in our area. Manthan is asking about my credentials so he can dismiss me or not. Not even worth my time. Grass-fed ground beef. Okay, Misty says it's $8.99 for grass-fed ground beef in Ohio, but where she's at. That's good to know. So everybody is looking at about the same pricing. But, if you can't afford grass-fed beef or organic beef, then just get store-bought beef. Get brats, get hot dogs, get all beef hot dogs. And they do have kosher ones. They do have, the brats here, again, at Fairway are pretty good. I get heart, liver, and gizzards. Used to feed it to him raw as a puppy. Now I cook ground beef, chicken, turkey with carrots and peas and some white rice. White rice has a ton of arsenic in it. Carrots are full of sugar. Peas are as well. You're looking at, dogs are not, they're not omnivores. They're carnivores. They're actually obligate carnivores. If they're starving, they might eat your carrots and peas and be able to survive, but you're giving them survival foods and I wouldn't do it. But that is your choice. My dogs eat raw all the time. They eat raw hamburger. They'll eat the raw deer meat, but I like to sear it for them. So if there is any bacteria on the outside of that deer meat, I will sear it and then I will give it to them. But mostly it is raw inside. They love it. The liver and the gizzards and the hearts, they're also just seared. The inside is pretty much raw. Okay, any questions? Yeah, Batman, I agree. Store-bought beef is really processed. Any beef, any ground beef is going to be processed because it actually went through a grinder. The mere fact of grinding ground beef is a processing. However, it's still better than anything else. So, you know what? If you want to avoid ground beef because you think it's processed, then don't eat it. Eat your steaks. If you're referring to the fact that it's not grass-fed, it's grain-fed, I agree. But I would still choose that over other crap that you want to consume, crapola, I call it, because beef, deer, sheep, lamb, elk, bison, buffalo, they're all ruminant meats, and they have multi-chambered stomachs. As much omega-6 through them. I do need omega-6. Everybody needs omega-6. We're just getting too much. So if we're eating a lot of grain, a lot of plants, we're getting too much omega-6. Upwards to 20 to 1. It should be a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. We're getting, in today's modern world, we're getting upwards to 20, 21 to 1. And that is just way too much. And that's why these polyunsaturated fatty acids are leading to insulin resistance and coronary artery disease. Even though they raise LDL and you think lower LDL, and you think that's great. If we lower LDL, we're never going to get a heart attack. I really think you should think again. Polyunsaturated fatty acids are a cause of destruction of cells. You're getting peroxidation going on through polyunsaturated fatty acids. Polyunsaturated fatty acids are destroying the cell membrane on cells. They're destroying the lipid raft. They're destroying the area where a GLUT4 receptor is docking, where it is able to talk to insulin and take in energy, glucose. You want a surefire way of getting insulin resistant and worsening your diabetes? Eat and consume polyunsaturated fatty acids in the form of omega-6, and you'll get there. I did it. I did an experiment on my mom. For 6 months, we ate shrimp. It wasn't an experiment. She really wanted the shrimp and chicken tenders and chicken nuggets and what else? Fish sticks, all on polyunsaturated fatty acids. I told her they were polyunsaturated fatty acids. I told her what they do to her, and she says, I just want to eat them. And I said, well, then can we check your A1C and see if it gets, we didn't change anything else. Just that. Just went to polyunsaturated fatty acids. And sure enough, her A1C went from 6.1 to 6.4. That was enough just in her head because she knows her A1C. She goes, yeah, you're right. And so we stopped doing that. And now she's eating ribeyes every other night. She goes, as long as you'll make them, I'll eat them. So I do. I have to cut it up in tiny, tiny little pieces. So she eats probably ribeye 3-4 days a week. She loves them. We get different kinds. Let's see. I bought from Dirty Dog for about $13 a pound, but I know it's good stuff. Good. Metabolism IQ, I did look into Dirty Dog. They do not deliver to Iowa. So, hopefully if you guys, and I don't think it's spelled dirty, D-O-G, I think it's D-A-W-G, if I remember correctly. But they're a great farm and with a great cause. If you want to look up Dirty Dog, if you're on the East Coast, I believe they're on the East Coast. Lewis says, what are your thoughts on a carnivore diet? I say go for it. Let me see any questions. Lewis says, what kind of meat would you suggest? I prefer the ruminant meats. You can get sheep and lamb and beef and buffalo, elk, deer. Those are great ruminant meats. Some people throw in some chicken, but again, chicken or poultry is monogastric animals. So if they are eating grain, then you are going to be eating grain. And I guess I can't recommend that. Metabolism IQ says they offer a primal blend with organs blended into the ground beef. So if you guys are in the area for Dirty Dog delivery, look them up and see if that fits into your budget. Lucy says, can you talk more about brain food? Lucy, I think it's just like any other cell that we need to get essential fatty acids, essential amino acids. There are no essential carbohydrates. People will say that your brain needs glucose. It does not need glucose. Will it take in glucose? Yes. But if you gave your brain ketones, it will prefer ketones. Ketone diets, ketogenic diets, are the most studied diets of all time because they use ketogenic diets actually before insulin was made. Before insulin was made, they put people on ketogenic diets because if they kept the carbohydrates low, they could keep their blood sugars low. Okay? And so prior to us getting in, now did they live very long? No. But then insulin was made. It was founded. And so that's when they started using insulin and not worrying about their diet. So they started eating anything and everything, and the people still died. So brain food is getting enough essential fatty acids and essential amino acids. Your brain can make its own cholesterol. It is important to get sleep. It is important to keep stress low because stress raises cortisol. But if you're talking about a well-studied diet that is for your brain, it's ketogenic. They've even done studies on exogenous ketones for brain function, keeping seizures away, for depression, for Parkinson's, for Alzheimer's. I've talked about it. So brain foods, I just stick, for me, I eat animal-based diet and I stick to that. And I try to keep my ketones produced. If my ketones are high, I know my brain is getting good energy and good food. So does that make sense? Misty says, I fed my chocolate lab raw meat and bones for 8 years. The vet couldn't believe how young she seemed to be. Thought I had switched her out. That's funny. Lost her to an accident when she was 9. Oh, that makes me so sad, Misty. I'm so sorry. That would break my heart. Breaks my heart thinking about that. Lucy says, what is the cause of low pigmentation like white spots in the skin? Are you talking about Lucy, I don't think you're talking about like vitiligo. I think you're talking about a depigmented skin, like tiny little white spots, like maybe you can see them more when you have a suntan. That is basically the melanin production in that area is diminished. And lipohysin. Nikki, tell me more about that. I don't know. Yeah, Misty. Yeah, that would be a ton. But Nikki says it's sun damage. Okay, I get that. But what is causing the sun damage? Okay, is it polyunsaturated fatty acids? Is it glucose from the glycation? Is it iron overload from non-heme iron depositing in our skin? What is the main cause, Nikki? Like what, we're getting peroxidation. I get it. So basically you're getting oxidation. You're getting damage to cells from, iron overload or polyunsaturated fatty acids or from, glycation from sugars. But yes, there is something going on in that skin now that is damaged that melanin producing cell, and no more melanin is going there. Nikki says it's DNA damage, glucagon, and the sun. So how do you get glucagon production? What's going on in the pancreas alpha cells? Are the beta cells and the alpha cells not talking well? Is there cortisol being built up? Let me know your thoughts. Metabolism IQ says I lost my soul doggy 1 year ago to an accused 9/30/25. He was 13. To accident, right? Metabolism IQ. Rue got hurt by a car. Yeah, I'm sorry. 9:30. I'll write that down so I can remember. Nikki says it's from glycation and then being in the sun. Cells are not protected. I agree. I do think that glycation is just one way, but we have built up iron in our cells over decades. And the combination of polyunsaturated fatty acids, sugar on board, which is glycation, as well as non-heme iron overload in these cells is causing destruction of the cell membrane, destruction actually inside the cells, the mitochondria, the melanin producing parts of the cell. Those are not well. And the sun just draws it out. The sun itself is not healthy. It's the things that we're putting in. It could be, smoking. It could be tobacco. It could be nicotine. It could be heavy metals. Anything that you're breathing in. It could be halides, fluoride, bromide, chloride. It could be all of those. These things that build up in our system that is causing all of the skin damage. And a lot of times, Lucy, I don't know if you're on glucoferrin, but it is possible that in the areas of highly exposed sun exposure, and especially in areas where there's less blood flow, you could see more of these spots popping up. The glucoferrin is drawing the labile iron out, yes, but some of it could be getting deposited in our skin in areas where there's decreased blood flow and there's not a lot of transportation to get it out. Now, usually these are areas where it's darker. You'll get a darker pigmentation from the iron being deposited in the skin. So if you look at people's skin, like I see a lot of bodybuilders, I see a lot of diabetics, and if you look at their lower extremities, on their calves and their lower shins, it's full of this hemosiderin. It's full of this dark pigmentation. Now, I think that, these areas, just like vitiligo, it's losing its pigmentation, its melanin, and you're seeing it because you're probably tanner, and they will get more as you get older. Sheila says, thank you so much for the information. You're very welcome. Yeah, Nikki, I agree. You're onto something. I agree. Nikki says, I meant high glucose and then being in the sun for too long, sunburn, and eventually the skin cells can't produce melanin. I agree. If we wear out the skin cells because of all of the peroxidation, oxidation that's going on, basically rusting in our body, the cells are going bad. And so as we age, the cells are going bad and they're not able to make the melanin that they used to. Now, I have seen cells recuperate once going carnivore. So carnivore and perhaps taking glucoferrin. And you can speak to Metabolism IQ about this and why or what are the benefits of taking glucoferrin as far as skin is concerned. But I think over time of switching over to a carnivore diet, one, the sun is less able to penetrate. There's more protection. So you're getting newer cells, basically regenerating. And the melanin produced, you'll find that you can get a tan again, and you can avoid sunburn. These are just things that you can do, and I've seen it. This is anecdotal. I don't know if there's any studies on this or not, but I think when our body is healing and we are getting rid of all the glycation and all the peroxidation and oxidation that's going on, I think that is healing all over our body. But I think we're going to go through a stage where we see a lot of things that are going really, really wrong, and then they get better. And we haven't been in this, I don't think, Lucy, we've been in this process long enough. Even for myself, we haven't been in this process long enough. But no, if I'm eating a bunch of sugar, going out in the sun is the least, I'm not going to do it. That's the same as going out and drinking alcohol. There's no amount of alcohol that's good for you. None, zero. It is a toxin. And yeah, I don't know how I got on that, but that's okay, Nikki. You did awesome. Nikki says, I don't have the proper vocabulary. You do. We understand. We understand. And hopefully I, added on to what you were saying. So Nikki says also heavy metals, glucose, diesel fumes, anything smoke, wood smoke, cigarette smoke, any smoking, that is not good for us. Flash, yes, I do. Lucy. Yes, Lucy, those dark spots, those are liver spots. So, Lucy, as you're freeing up iron that is in the hepatocytes, so and again, Metabolism IQ might be better at this, but if we have labile iron inside of our hepatocytes, our liver cells, hepcidin can be very elevated. Liver is producing hepcidin. When hepcidin is high, it pushes or prevents the liver hepatocytes from breaking down or releasing stored up, pent up iron inside the liver cells, hepatocytes. If hepcidin is high, things are stored and can't get out of the liver. So our liver, whether we know it or not, is under a lot of stress. It's damaged, but the liver can regenerate. And so as hepcidin comes down, and also ferritin can be low. So too low of ferritin and too high of ferritin are both not good. So in this case, if hepcidin is high, ferritin is low, we can pretty much guess that things are trapped inside the liver. If we start lowering that hepcidin and that labile iron is coming out and coming in and attaching to ferritin, some is still not going to be attached. It's going to go to areas in our skin where, one, sun is exposed, right? And two, maybe lack of blood flow or decreased blood flow. So in areas where you have decreased blood flow, and I'm not saying it's like it's not existent, and it's existent, it's just not as much as, say, one part of your body compared to the other, which has more blood flow. So you might say that your upper arms on the back is got more brown spots than anywhere else because that's high sun exposure and decreased blood flow as compared to the front of your arm, like your bicep, or your lower arms, which has more blood flow. Same with your legs, okay? You might have an area on your quads that are getting more dark spots than maybe your hamstrings or maybe your calves. You're not going to have as many brown spots. But yes, that is liver. Those are liver spots. Your liver is not healthy, and your liver, it's telling you. Nikki says, heavy metals, dark spots, same idea. Exactly. Heavy metals are not good. And again, maybe one more reason to be taking glucoferrin. We can do zeolite, and we can do EDTA. They're going to chelate. They might even bind, but they're not going to sequester, and they're not going to completely get all of the heavy metals. So it's good thought, but maybe consider looking into glucoferrin. I don't sell it. I don't want to sell it. I'm just telling you that there are options out there in order to heal ourselves from heavy metal exposure, okay? But not taking them in is very important. So if you're living in congested New York City, should you maybe move? Maybe. If you're worried about heavy metals, you might want to move. Would I move to a rural country farm where they're using glyphosate and spraying all kinds of other things on the crops? No. So there's got to be an in-betweener. Nikki says, key is safe, son. I use a D-Minder app to ensure I don't burn or overdo it. Good. Exactly. Don't go, wish I would have known that when I was younger. Oh, of course. We could have, coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I mean, really. Copper and zinc do work together, but they're actually opposites. You can get a zinc and copper levels and you can see where you're at. Remember, if you're eating a lot of plants, you're not going to get absorption of copper and zinc. You can get levels of them. Anytime that you're eating plants, you're going to have oxalates and phytates on board. Oxalates and phytates are anti-nutrients. They block the absorption of most all positively charged ions, whether it's copper, zinc, selenium, iron, B vitamins, amino acids. You're not getting absorption of those if you're having a high plant intake. So copper and zinc are very important, very important. Lucy says, I did an oat test and came back high on mercury and aluminum, did a bunch of dental work after, not going to retest, just will get on my glucoferrin again. Yeah, it might be a good idea. Oh, thanks, Nikki. I appreciate that. If you guys like the content, please share it. Lucy says, please send me an invoice, Metabolism IQ. Misty says, can children take glucoferrin? Absolutely. A 10-year-old breastfed specifically. Awesome. Misty, glucoferrin, this is how I would always explain it to people because it can get confusing on all of the aspects of glucoferrin, but picture it like this. Glucoferrin is like breast milk in a capsule. It is apolilactoferrin. If you think about breast milk, so breast milk is lactoferrin. The iron is still there. The baby needs iron. That's why the breast milk, so you got the colostrum, the first part, and then you'll get the lactoferrin, and the baby takes that in. The baby is taking in just enough iron that it needs from the breast. There is no need to take in anything else. There's no supplements needed. The mother should eat well, though, because that's feeding the baby. So essential amino acids, essential fatty acids. So if the baby's getting, no matter what the mother eats, breastfed milk or breastfed is much better than formula fed. 100 to 0, okay? But even if the baby wasn't breastfed, still taking glucoferrin is in their best interest, okay? A 10-year-old, I don't know what they're eating, but likely they got off track at some point in their life and ate some form of processed food that was fortified with non-heme iron, had heavy metals, glyphosate, that's sprayed on our Ohio and Iowa farms. It's all there. We're exposed. We're breathing it in. So even a 10-year-old who is breastfed that's eating a carnivore diet is likely exposed to heavy metals and other things. The chromium that's in the apolilactoferrin is what helps to bind these heavy metals, especially iron, okay? And it's not all iron is bad for us. And we do need iron. We would die if we did not have iron. We die when we have too much iron, and we die if we don't have enough iron. If we have too much iron, we're basically rusting faster than we normally would have. So it's like leaving your car outside in the elements with the salt in the air and the oxygen and the water. All of that is rusting. So inside your body, you're rusting. And so eating these things that are fortified processed foods or eating plants, because plants are that is non-heme iron. So if you have a 10-year-old that's growing up eating a bunch of plants like a vegan, they're full of non-heme iron. Their cells are oxidizing. They're oxidizing. They're rusting at a young age. So you mean yes, even the vegetables that you think are so good for them, they would be better off eating carnivore. Ask Dr. Barry's kids. Dr. Barry's kids have probably never eaten a plant unless Nisha makes it for them. But yeah, they're mainly carnivores, maybe ketovores. So yeah, Misty, dogs can take glucoferrin. Animals, you got cats, animals, dogs, yep, you can feed them glucoferrin. They're eating processed grain-fed diets. They're eating kibble that's full of fortified iron. Just look at the nutrition label. It's no different than us eating processed foods. Check the labels. There's no reason to take vitamins. I think if they're eating organ meats and eating, fleshy meats, they should be good, Misty. Give them some eggs and bacon, and, they might like heavy cream as their milk, and definitely butter. So all of that. Metabolism IQ says yes, with inflammation, the liver accumulates iron because hepcidin locks the iron in. So hepcidin, which is made in the liver, is elevated. It locks the iron in because it can't get out. There's no transport mechanism. The transport mechanism, you don't have to remember all this, but it's called ferroportin, like transportation. Ferro, iron, portin, transport. So if you don't have ferroportin, because it's being destroyed by hepcidin, your liver that's in the hepatocytes can't get out. That causes your liver to not function very well. You can get cholestasis. You can get sluggish function. And if your doctor's really good, they can pick this up. They can get liver enzymes on you. They can get a GGT. They can get an AST and an ALT. And if they're elevated, you pretty much can assume you've got one, fatty liver going on, and two, trapped iron inside the hepatocytes. That is not a good combination. That is causing scarring and inflammation of that liver. That can lead to fibrosis. Fibrosis can lead to cirrhosis. And cirrhosis can lead to death or cancer, whichever comes first. So it is not good. We need healthy livers. Our liver, he's the master organ. If you think about your immune system, yes, your gut is very important, okay? Your liver produces glutathione, and glutathione is the master antioxidant. So not only are you choking your liver hepatocytes with a bunch of iron, and then you're smothering the liver itself with fat, you got a recipe for destruction inside your body. It is. So metabolism IQ says the iron continues to come in from recycled iron from the red blood cell. This depletes glutathione and causes a sluggish body. Okay, basically what I just said, but she maybe squished it up, and I like to talk a little more. They aren't many, but it's here and I want them out. What do you want out? I'm sorry. Lucy, send me a DM and I'll text after the show. Okay, good. You guys are chit-chatting. Metabolism IQ says she threw out her copper pans, cupratosis condition, osis of copper. So cell death due to copper overload. You guys, we need to be very careful what people are telling us as healthy. It's not so healthy. These things, these metals leach into our system. What do I use? You can use clay pots. You can use stainless steel. It's probably better than a copper pan or an iron, like a cast iron pan. There's just a lot. We're breathing in heavy metals all the time. And then we're going to cook 3 times a day with that pan. We're taking in a lot. I mean, yeah, you guys can spend your money on glucoferrin. Take 4 or 5 capsules a day to try to clean up your system. I'm sure Metabolism IQ would love that. But why keep putting it in? Why keep consuming sources of non-heme iron that's building up in your body? Try to keep it to a minimum. This non-heme iron, that's plants. That's synthetic food. It's basically factory food, has synthetic iron in it. Yeah. I use D-Minder too. I love my sun. Lucy, I love the sun too. I think it's healing. I believe that, I remember, and I still do, when I go to the pool and I'm out in the sun for a couple hours, that day is the most healing day of my whole week. And hopefully I can do it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week. Okay. My sleep is better. My focus is better. My energy, my health feels better. If I have a cold, I haven't had a cold in years. I think it was 2021. That was the last time I was sick. And it wasn't even really as sick. I think here's what I said. Am I getting sick? I had a little bit of a runny nose, and that was about it. So I don't know what the experience of being sick is anymore. But if I'm maybe feeling a little under the weather, if I go outside in the sun and expose as much part of my body, so putting on a swimsuit instead of wearing a t-shirt and shorts and wear a swimsuit, I'm telling you, I feel the best. And I'm guessing, Lucy, we were talking the other day, Lucy and I, about different parts of the United States, and I got to thinking, and I as much as I would not want to live where you live, when I see how you guys live as far as nature is concerned, I wouldn't want to trade that. I would move to something similar to that, but I wouldn't want to trade that. And it's a detriment living in Iowa because we cannot get out. We can. I mean, you can get outside, but you can't really expose your skin to the sun. And it's at such an angle that it's not penetrating and able to make your vitamin D. So it is a detriment living in it's beautiful living in 4-seasoned weather, but we're at a disadvantage when it comes to sun exposure. And so if you love your sun and, maybe it's the state where you live, you don't want to live at, but maybe you choose a state similar with all season sun. Okay. Metabolism IQ says that's low glutathione, liver iron overload. What is low glutathione? Help me out. Oh, accumulating other heavy metals. You guys, if you are writing in your chit chat and kind of complete the sentence so even I know what's going on, because I see you guys chit chatting with yourself. I am in the United States, Ozia. I am in the United States, in Iowa. Metabolism IQ says glucoferrin, no side effects, 100% safe for pregnancy, breastfeeding mothers, and babies. Anybody, from birth on, from not birth on, it's for pregnant females. I mean, there has been studies of 1 or 2 where the mothers, when they found out they got pregnant, they took, so they got 9 months of raising this baby. They took glucoferrin, and these babies, and Metabolism IQ can send you these studies, but these babies came out with a full head of hair. Their genetic profile was amazingly complete. So would I continue? So if I was pregnant, I would take glucoferrin myself. The baby's going to get lactoferrin, apolilactoferrin. They're going to get, and you breastfeed that baby. They're getting more lactoferrin. They're going to get all the iron they need. Okay. And they're going to grow up bigger, stronger, and their genetic makeup is going to be complete because mom was healthy. So eggs were healthy. Dad's sperm was healthy because they're all eating a ketogenic diet. They're going to make, and then they're all taking glucoferrin. Whoa. You're going to have a superhero delivered with full head of hair. So maybe Metabolism IQ could send whoever was asking about that. Oh, Misty. Metabolism IQ, maybe you can send Misty that story about the babies and that full head of hair. Yeah, Metabolism IQ, I would agree. Glass bottles are better than, and you got to avoid plastics. I forgot to mention that one. Nikki, we forgot to mention microplastics and nanoplastics. Free label iron pool is small amount of non-bound iron. So that iron is really available immediately for cell function. ATP, energy synthesis, DNA synthesis, enzymes, but the pool is what? Structured and maintained in perfect balance of ferrous, so Fe2 plus 2, and so ferric, Fe3, right? And then ferrous, Fe2. Am I correct in that? When ferritin becomes saturated, this pool can build up, deplete glutathione, and destroy our proteins, lipids, DNA, mitochondria, blah, 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 blah. Also, your immune system. No glutathione, no immune system. Susan says, sunrise, UVA, UVB, sunset, rinse and repeat. I love it. Where are you from, Susan? That's good. That's great. Jaco, good morning. I'm trying to read some of these questions over here. If you have a question, put a Q in front of it. Vic says, Doc, I recently found your channel. Is diabetes reversible with diet after 20 plus years on meds? If you are a lab kind of a person, I would definitely get a C-peptide. I would make sure that your pancreas is still able to pump out insulin. You can't go wrong by going on a ketogenic diet and getting rid of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is what causes diabetes. One of the causes of diabetes. Carbohydrates increase blood sugar. Blood sugar increases insulin. Hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance leads to diabetes. Microplastics and polyunsaturated fatty acids and iron overload, all of these things can worsen or lead to diabetes. If we become reductionists and say, oh, Doc, it's all carbohydrates, and if you just limit carbohydrates, you're going to reverse your diabetes. Well, you could improve your diabetes. You could reverse your diabetes. But what if you're under a lot of stress and you got high cortisol? Cortisol raises blood sugar. What if you're going to bed after you just ate and you increase your sympathetic nervous system, which increases blood sugar, which increases insulin? All of these things. What if you're taking in nanoplastics? What if you're eating polyunsaturated fatty acids in the form of omega-6s way too much? All of these things can block the insulin, the GLUT4, GLUT2, GLUT3, all the glucose receptors on a cell membrane. There's many things. So you could reverse your diabetes, but it could take a whole thing, all of these things. Sleep better, eat better, pray better. All of these things, get the heavy metals out, all of these things. Yes, diabetes is reversible. Absolutely. And I think diet is 90% of it. Metabolism IQ might disagree, but yeah. And she does correct me or actually approve that I did say, yes, ferric iron is Fe3 plus and ferrous iron is Fe2 plus. So when it converts from Fe3 to Fe2, the more usable form, that's an enzyme. Remember, you got to reduce Fe3 plus to Fe2, and that is a type of enzyme. Okay. Let's see. Queen, do you have a question? I'm sorry if you're, I can't see the questions as well on YouTube as I can on Facebook, or excuse me, on Instagram. It's more run together and it goes very quickly. So if Queen Razzie has a question, let me know. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? Good morning, Zenny. Thank you for joining. Jaco, did you have a question and I missed it? Because I didn't see it. If you did. So as a review, we started out today's live stream talking about brain cells. Yesterday, we went into in-depth. So if you guys missed yesterday's live stream, it might be worth checking back, because with the questions that accumulated, we talked a lot about how to prepare, or are we preparing for our older age and disability? Like, what makes us go, your quality of life is good, and then all of a sudden it crashes and burns, and you go from living in your living in your house, and then you are in a nursing home, or you're in an independent living. So you get moved out of your house, you go to independent living, then you transfer to assistant care, and then you outlive the assisted care and you ended up in a nursing home. And we think about that. We fear that diminishment of our health, and things that we can do now to prevent that or be able to stay in our house. And one is diet, one is exercise. Exercise is so important. A sedentary person is a lost person. They're usually sitting down eating polyunsaturated fatty acids and sugar, but not always. But exercise and sleep and what you consume, one of the things that puts us faster into a nursing home is cognitive decline. And so we started out today's session by capitalizing on yesterday's, by talking about the cells of the brain, the neurons, which are a body with dendrite little tentacles that receive signals and then send it out through the axon, the tail. And then we also talked about glial cells. The glial cells are the helper cells, or the glue, so to speak, that help to help the neurons work better. So it's very important that the cells of our brain are well nourished and they're healthy. And that is going to keep cognitive decline to a minimum. And that looks like diet. That looks like low sugar. It looks like low polyunsaturated fatty acids in the form of omega-6s. It looks like maybe using glucophage to help clear out heavy metals, especially iron that's built up in our cells. We also talked about the sources of cholesterol for our brain. The brain itself is about 2 pounds, 2 to 3 pounds. It's 60% fat. Can you eat fat and help your brain? No. The cholesterol that's in our fat cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. The molecule of cholesterol is too big. Cholesterol, remember, is carried in a lipoprotein. It's fat soluble, not water soluble. So the brain is 60% fat, and a large part of that fat of the brain is DHA. We need DHA. DHA is an essential omega-3 fatty acid, EPA, and an essential omega-3 fatty acid. They're important, okay? So brain health and prevention of cognitive decline was something we talked about when we opened up the session today, the live stream. Metabolism IQ says the free labile iron pool is small amount of non-bound iron. So that iron is readily available for immediate cellular functions. Great. Got it. Anything else you want to add there, Metabolism IQ? Zenny asks, wondering what you think of an anti-inflammatory diet as an anti-aging approach. Well, inflammation increases our aging process. So what is your idea of an anti-inflammatory diet? Your idea of an anti-inflammatory diet and my idea of an anti-inflammatory diet is probably different. The most anti-inflammatory diet is an elimination diet of meat, salt, and water. In fact, it's ruminant salt and water. What are anti-inflammatory supplements? Are you talking about NAD? Are you talking about NAC? Are you talking about glutathione? Are you talking about Motrin? What anti-inflammatory supplements would I take? An anti-inflammatory supplement, even if they were good and real, would I take them and continue to eat an inflammatory diet? No. Or be exposed to heavy metals? No. Drink in chemicals, put chemicals, take medicines? No. So the things that I'm going to consume will be anti-inflammatory. To me, plants are inflammatory. I'm not going to eat plants. That's a choice. But I'm still not going to take anti-inflammatory supplements because I'm eating an anti-inflammatory diet. But there you go. Metabolism IQ says glucoferrin 100%. So Zenny, if you want to contact Metabolism IQ and discuss glucoferrin, I would contact her. And would I spend money on quercetin when I could have glucoferrin? No. Zenny, look into glucoferrin before you would consume quercetin. I know that during 2020, 2021, maybe even 2019 into 2022, 23, whatever it is, that quercetin and zinc and vitamin C and NAD and NAC, all of these things were promoted. Even myself, I took these things because that's where I was in my education. That's where I was in my journey. Now I know that if I eat an anti-inflammatory diet, a low inflammatory diet, I'm going to not need these things and my body's going to naturally produce it. Now, our body can't make vitamin C, but there is enough vitamin C in meat. A ribeye steak has about 12 milligrams. We need about 15. Eat some eggs, eat some other meat, and you got it. Yeah, Zenny, I think you're wasting your money on a lot of supplements. I really do. I think you could save a lot. Misty says she just started glucoferrin last week. Zenny, turmeric is a root plant. Think about a root plant. It grows underneath the ground, right? Its root is in the ground. What is your soil like, Zenny? What is your soil like? It's full of heavy metals. It's full of arsenic and mercury and all of these things, cadmium, because it's in our air. Then it gets into our soil and then it saturates that root plant. Okay? Turmeric, a root plant. You are consuming all of the heavy metals, all of the yuck, all of the toxins are in that root plant, and now you're going to use it as an anti-inflammatory as it's causing inflammation in your body and poisoning you. I wouldn't do it. But that's me. This is for information purposes only. It's not medical advice. I don't think, Zenny, that they saved you from hip replacement, but if it did, I am very happy for you. Very happy for you. That is awesome. I'm happy to send my video. Zenny, I'd be happy to look at it. You can send it through LinkedIn or here, however you'd like to do it. Zenny, it might be overkill. Zenny is telling us that he has 11 anti-inflammatory supplements. Again, I really think that you could save a little money if you changed your diet. Spend it on ribeye steaks, bacon and butter and eggs. And yeah. That's just my take on it. Lewis. Oh, Jason says, I went carnivore 1 year ago. I feel amazing. Who does not want to feel amazing like Jason? Jason went carnivore a year ago. Lewis says, keep it up. Jason has lost 35 pounds and he's gained muscle. Who doesn't want to lose 35 pounds and gain muscle? Oh, Jason, kudos to you. Congratulations. Jason's also not tired anymore. He's lost 35 pounds. He's got more muscle. He's probably sleeping better. That is, Jason, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing your story. Lewis tried the carnivore diet for 2 months. Why just 2 months? Matthias is hail from Brazil. Hello, Brazil. Lucy, we got a Brazilian over here. Good morning, Michael. Let's see. Lewis says Jason probably stay with it. Oh, that's a good point. Zenny, here's another good point. Zenny, chicken has omega-6, too much omega-6 because the chickens are usually grain-fed. Fish are, even today, even if you try to get wild caught, they're full of toxins. Spinach is full of oxalates and phytates. It's poison. Oh boy. Yeah, get your amino acids and fat content and then take glucoferrin is what metabolism IQ. Bok choy, seriously, Zenny? I mean, if you're looking to become a female and increase your estrogen, eat all these plants. They're full of non-heme iron and they're going to increase your estrogen production. I'm not sure that that is what you're looking for, but we haven't talked for ages. Right, Metabolism IQ says, Zenny, that is why you need so many anti-inflammatories, because you're eating so inflammatory foods like spinach and bok choy and all of that. And I agree, salmon once a month might be okay, but that salmon is full of toxins. And all of those plants you mentioned, I agree with Metabolism IQ, full of non-heme iron. You're just choking yourself full. Again, maybe one more reason to get on glucoferrin. Zenny, this is for you from Mantham over on YouTube. It would be a good plan, not medical advice, a good plan, maybe consider to have a full blood work done. And Manthan is telling you, do not compensate with supplements when you don't even know what you need. So getting a full panel of blood work and seeing what are you low on, what are you high on. That's why I've had one patient, and again, but I had a person who was taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D every day, and they had hypervitamin D-osis, a condition of too high vitamin D. They were bad. You guys, we can overdo things that they tell us are healthy. I don't know who they are, whoever the recommended people, whoever the people are that recommend. That's why I try to minimize the amount of supplements that you guys are on. I don't want you to have to take supplements, okay? And there is a difference between a supplement and a nutraceutical. Please look up the difference, okay? But if you're looking at glucoferrin, the nutraceutical, it does have a patent on it. It would be one that I would feel a little more safe taking in than I would. And Zenny, believe me, I nonchalantly took supplements for years, especially since 2020, probably 2019, for years. And I was spending over $200 a month, just like Misty, and Misty says up until 3 months ago, she was on a program with a naturopath. Again, a naturopath was her guru. And for 9 months, she was spending over $200 a month, plus following a high carb diet, mostly plant-based. Misty, how did you feel with that plant-based, high carb, spending $200 a month diet? Her health plummeted. That's what she said, not me. Misty says, my health plummeted. I could visibly, Misty speaking, I could visibly see me aging. Remember, a wrinkle is from glycation. What is glycation? Sugar binding to a protein. We have proteins in our skin. It's called collagen and elastin. When sugar binds to all proteins in our eyeballs with cataracts and macular degeneration, on our skin we get wrinkles. Whenever sugar, glucose, binds to a protein, it glycates, binds, gums it up, and produces an AGE, aging, advanced glycation end product. You are aging before your eyes. When we glycate, when we smoke, when we take in heavy metals, when we have rusting in our body from iron overload, all of this is aging you faster. Can you reverse it? Ask Misty. She stopped doing all this stuff. She stopped the plant-based diet full of carbohydrates. She's been losing fat. She's been sleeping better, probably. She feels healthier, and she's probably reverse aging, like getting back to where she was. But thank you for adding that, Manthan. I appreciate that. I 100% agree. Everybody, we need to get baseline labs, okay? I think it's important. The thing is, sometimes our current PCPs, current doctors, don't want to run blood work for you. They might work for a corporation and it comes out of their pocket. They have a pool of money. And if they're spending money out of their pool, like doing labs for people, they lose money. And so they just won't do it. They'll say, you don't need that. Like, you don't need a copper or a zinc level. You don't need an RBC magnesium level. In fact, you don't need an insulin level, which is the main thing that I would get before anything else. I want your insulin level. I want a fasting insulin level. So if you guys are not able to order your own labs, your doctor won't do it. I do get a discount through a lab. So you can email me or text me or message me. Email me is IronLadyDoc, IronLadyDoc, IronLadyDoc at AOL.com. Okay? IronLadyDoc at email me. If you can't get your labs, I'll send you a lab order and you'll pay for it out of pocket. Nothing to me. It's a benefit for you. So if you are okay with paying for your blood work, maybe you have an HSA, you can use that money, your credit card, use that money for your lab tests. That's medical. You can use that. You'll just have to get it approved by your HSA. And usually a receipt will do that. Okay? So yeah, email me. I think there might be 7 states that this lab, that you cannot get your own labs. Okay. You could go to Life Extension Labs. You can go to Own Your Lab. I don't know what the cost is compared to mine. If you want to see what my cost is and then an equal comparison to another lab, again, I'll send you the lab. It's a copy and paste. It takes me 3 seconds, so it's not that big of a deal. So if you want your labs done, and then if you want to consult with me and we go over your labs, I'd be happy to do that. My fee is $110 an hour to go over your labs. So like Manthan says, a good plan, get a full complement of blood work. See where you're at. Doc, it helped me. Zenny, if it helped you, awesome. Awesome. I don't know, then why are you asking about an anti-inflammatory diet then? Just keep eating what you're eating and take your supplements. Jose says, tried it for 1 week, felt stupid amazing. Ran out of meat after 2 months. Eat hot dogs. Matthias says, I increased the quality of proteins and I've been feeling more energized. That's awesome. Eggs, beef, chicken, that's what Matthias is eating, okay? Try to get pasture-raised and try to get pasture-raised chickens. Pasture-raised eggs, pasture-raised chickens, grass-fed beef. That is more important. That's going to get you more omega-3s. Lewis says, I went on a carnivore diet 2 months and then ran out of money for the meat. Get cheap 70-30 meat, Lewis. Get hot dogs and brats and bacon and eat butter. That is better than eating a plant-based diet. Manthan says, thanks, Iron Lady. I appreciate it. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thanks for helping me out. Thanks for helping me with the conversation to help others. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to give information to everybody. This is not, I don't know more than you. There is well-read people who are listening right now that are going, Tell me. Let's talk about this. Okay? We are learning we're on a journey together. In fact, my journey had a detour. I went to medical school. I got indoctrinated with misinformation for 23 years. Okay? So you guys could be well ahead of me. All right? So the last 4 or 5 years, I'm on a journey with you. We're doing this together. No more, legally being a drug dispenser. That's what doctors do. There is no more treating the person. It is make a diagnosis. Here's your medication. I'll see you in a year. Doctors are not doing anybody any service, okay? They're great for an acute injury, or if you cut off your finger and you need it sewed on, you need a good surgeon, a good orthopedic. But your primary care doctor, they're likely just, they might be bringing you down than rising you up, okay? They're the ones putting you on the medication. They're the ones putting chemicals that block normal biologic processes in your body when they could have been talking to you about diet and exercise, getting out in the sun, stress relief, standing barefoot on the grass, all of that, getting out in nature. Lewis says, I got some beef ribeyes and porterhouse steaks, beef ribs, basically a half carcass. Awesome. Lewis, that sounds yummy. Where am I from? Matthias, I am from the United States. I'm from Iowa, from Des Moines, Iowa. Lady B just emailed Metabolism IQ, and I meant it you. Thank you. So yeah, email Metabolism IQ. We are friends. Metabolism IQ and I are friends. We do not work together, but we journey together. We are sharing information and bouncing things off each other on a regular basis. I need help. She needs help. We do this together. You guys, this is where it's at. And if she can help you with, teaching you about iron and teaching about glucoferrin, and you're learning more about the damages of polyunsaturated fatty acids and heavy metals and, glucose and fructose. Fructose is damaging your liver. And yeah, you think you got iron built up in your liver in the cells, and then you add some fructose to it. You're just making fatty liver. You're leading to fibrosis and cirrhosis. And it's just a one big downhill spiral. Okay. And, I'm not trying to reduce any of your illnesses down to it's plain just carbohydrates. I'm not trying to do that. Okay. If you go from a standard American diet and you go to any diet, whether it's vegan or vegetarian, keto, ketovore or carnivore or a lion diet, you're going to be better off. You're going to feel amazing. Even if you went to a vegan or vegetarian, which I wouldn't recommend, but if you went from a standard American diet to a vegan diet, I guarantee you will feel better. It's not because the vegan diet did anything for you. It's what you took away. It's not because the carnivore diet did anything for you. It's what you took away. You took away crapola and you replaced it with whole foods. Now, would I prefer, this is for myself. This is in my opinion. I'm not going to eat the carbohydrates. My body does very well on no carbs or very few, less than 10, less than 15 grams. Okay. Misty says she's been carnivore now for 5 weeks and she feels so much better. You guys, these are the stories I'm hearing all the time. And, when people say I'm carnivore is 0 carbs. But if Misty is going to eat some cheese, she's not really full-blown carnivore. She could be ketovore, less than 10 grams, or keto, less than 20 grams. So what we're saying is, when people are getting rid of the carbohydrates, they're getting rid of the glycation, they're getting rid of the inflammation, they're feeling better. Now, do I know vegans who tell me they feel amazing? Absolutely. The vegans don't feel afraid of coming to me. I see everybody. We don't even, if a vegan says, hey, how can I improve my protein intake? You know darn well that they're not going to eat a steak. Then we work on getting complete protein sources for the vegan. Hey, give me some ideas. Then we give ideas. They feel amazing. Not because of the vegan diet, because of what they took out. They went from feeling like crap to feeling amazing. That's what everybody wants. But let me just share something with you, okay? Why I don't eat plants. I believe in my heart of hearts, one thing, okay? If I have a family history of Parkinson's disease, I do not want Parkinson's. I do not want any neurodegenerative disease. You can give me a heart attack and poof, I go. But I don't want to suffer in cognitive decline. And if you look at studies, you can go read them. Vegans have smaller brains. Plant-based people have smaller brains. I don't want any cognitive. There's a book, actually. I think it's actually called Vegans Have Smaller Brains. I've read it. Okay? It also talks in there about agriculture. There's many authors with many different schools of thought, and they all are talking. Why vegans have smaller brains? I don't want a smaller brain. I want a bigger brain. Right? I want all of my cells, my neurons and my glial cells functioning. If I don't have fat, I can't make myelin. My glial cells, there's no myelin. There's no myelin sheath. How's my axon going to send signals to all the other places that need to have signals, which is everywhere in your body? Yeah, that's why I stay away from it. Ethane says sugar isn't inherently bad. Context matters. So give me, yes, okay, I'm on board with whatever you have for me. Tell me what inherently means. Inherently bad. So does that mean they're inherently good? What are you saying to everyone listening? What does inherently bad mean? And then context matters. What context matters? What amount of sugar over 5 grams, maybe 6, that you need in your body? I can wait, and you can tell me. If you want to send it to me anonymously, that's fine too. But our body needs only 6 grams of glucose in our body. In 5 liters of the average person is 5 liters of blood and should have 5 to 6 grams of glucose. Our liver can make that easily. We do not need to take any more. That's why there are no essential carbohydrates. There's no essential glucose and fructose and lactose and maltose and none of them, okay? What the liver makes supplies the brain. The brain, just look it up. Look how much sugar the brain actually needs in order to thrive. It isn't 20 grams of glucose. It isn't a piece of bread. You don't need it. The liver is constantly making it. If it's a carnivore, a ketovore, or a lion diet eater and there's no carbs on board, you would think that their brain would just stop functioning, and it doesn't. It actually gets better because they're on ketones. They're using the blood sugar that they need from the liver, gluconeogenesis or glycogenolysis, breakdown of glycogen or buildup of glucose. The brain is fine. The heart is fine. The spleen is fine. Your skin is fine. All of it is fine. That's all you need. No essential carbohydrates. You just choose to inherently say something. Well, it's inherently good. It's inherently bad. How about just say, there's no essential carbohydrates? Name them. If there's an essential carbohydrate, give me the name of it. We can all look it up together. Okay? Marnie says, if we are eating mainly lean meats, lean beef, chicken, fish, how much butter should we eat in a day? Well, Marnie, I don't know. A stick of butter is about 90 grams of fat. So if, Marnie, I'm assuming you're female. And so female, if you're menopausal, I would say that you would lean more toward a 2-to-1 ratio of fat to protein. So if you get in 200 grams of fat and you are, 100 grams or 125 grams of protein, you're looking at 2 sticks of butter or the equivalent. So good question. Yeah, Misty, we knew what you meant. Thanks. Oh, Zenny, I can absolutely accept that you are much better. I am very, very happy that you are feeling better. Geez, that is awesome. If what you are doing is giving you results, excellent, Zenny, excellent. And metabolism IQ is obviously answering to Zenny. You are symptomatically treating your inflammation. Eventually, those supplements will destroy your liver. So there you go, Zenny. So apparently there is more people chatting with you than, but again, Zenny, you have to make up, you've always been a master of your own individualism, so go for it. And, if you want to spend on supplements and you're feeling better, excellent. Metabolism IQ is discussing, I'm guessing, with Zenny, 120 days and you'll destroy your red blood cells. Why 120 days? The average red blood cell lives about 120 days. That is the lifespan of our red blood cells. Lady B says your email again, iron, so IRON, lady, LADY, doc, DOC, at AOL.com. Matthias says, I live in the countryside, so I have access to natural stuff. That is awesome. That is awesome. You're living the high life. Ethane, explain how bacon and sausage are type 1 carcinogens. Hi from the UK, says Carly. Hello. Oh, good question, Matthias. There's a good question. What do you think about whey protein? I would ask you why you think you need it. no matter what it comes from, it's processed. It is denatured amino acids. And I think you would be better off eating a ribeye steak or eating whole protein sources. I suggest eating beef and sheep and lamb and deer. I mean, lamb is going to be your best option, but deer, sheep, lamb, elk, bison, buffalo, those are all your ruminant meats. So getting ruminant meats, I would never settle for whey protein. It's denatured. And even if there's no carbs in it, it still spikes your glucose and spikes insulin because the denatured amino acids, there's so much of them. There's such a rush of them. So if you're eating a natural source of protein, say a steak, it naturally comes with its own fat. Even if you're getting these lean sources, it's naturally going to come with fat. And that is going to not raise your blood sugar as much as if you took in whey protein. Just get a CGM and check. But again, I wouldn't spend my money on taking denatured amino acids when I could just eat the real thing, like hamburger or a steak or chicken or turkey or lamb, bison, buffalo, sheep, lamb, deer, elk. I would just eat. I wouldn't waste my money. Did I used to use whey protein? Absolutely. But now that I think about it, I was doing a lot of whey protein when I was dieting for bodybuilding shows. And I think it made it harder for me to lose my body fat, especially the more shows I did. And that I believe now, looking back, is that was spiking my blood sugar. It was giving a rush of those amino acids, spiked blood sugar, raised insulin. And then it took me 2 or 3 hours to lower that insulin. And then I was having to do more and more cardio. And honestly, I can't, I can't recommend it. But if you want to, that's fine. Lady says, I was told to only eat that flies and swims. And that's fine. I mean, poultry and fish, but I think you're getting more omega-6 than you need. And I think that you're getting a lot of contaminants. Black Mask is reminding people to thank you very much for keep it respectful and PG-13 in the comments. I agree. Ethane says, Metabolism IQ, are you still there? Oh, awesome. Zenny is telling us that he looks better now than when I saw you. I don't even remember the last time I saw you, but I'm guessing it was over 20 years ago. Okay. Good, Zenny, order your own labs. Make sure, that's awesome. Misty says she had a facial several weeks ago with my gal and have gone to for years, monthly. She said she noticed more volume in my face. She didn't even know I had switched to Carnivore. Awesome. Here's one for you guys. Fructose does not cause liver cirrhosis. What causes liver cirrhosis? Fibrosis leads to cirrhosis. Inflammation leads to fibrosis, which leads to cirrhosis. What causes inflammation? If you look up the pathway of how fructose does not need to go through the glucose pathway, you will find out that if you want a surefire way of building up liver fat, eat fructose. Eat lots of fructose. Eat a bunch of fruit with fructose. If you want to have a warm, toasty, fat blanket around your organs, go for it. And if you want to find out, get just a simple MRI of your abdomen without contrast. And you can see, get it before and after. Get it before and after, and then go on a fruit diet. And you'll be skinny on the outside and fat on the inside. Go for it. GB says a vegan diet is more trendy than healthy. Again, you know, maybe the vegan person wants to be vegan and they feel great. And I mean, it's the person eating it. glycogen is made in abundance of sugars. And our glucose isn't essential because I can't read that. It's, oh boy. You guys are all arguing back and forth. Metabolism IQ, it says collagen, there are many types, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's built from up to 3,000 amino acids. Facts based on biochemistry is different than from assumptions. I agree. Okay. Misty says, I've had a consultation with Dr. Jensen and labs done, well worth the time and money. Thank you, Misty. So yeah, if you guys want to get your labs, I can send you a list of what labs. If you can't get your labs, I can order them for you and then we can go over them. I appreciate that, Misty, for the kudos. Carrie says, Doc, any advice, specific exercise for slowly reintroducing to build shoulders again? Not big, just stronger. Well, I mean, Carrie, you've lifted weights for a lot of years. I know you've had an injury for over a year ago. Reintroducing, I think if I was reintroducing and getting back into shoulder work, I would start out doing rotator cuff exercises. I would find a good therapist who could show me and make sure I'm doing them correctly. I actually did this. I had a brilliant physical therapist who you could, when I first started going to him, he could touch that area and get me to get a mind, because right now after an injury, your mind to muscle connection is on shaky grounds. And so you have to rebuild that connection, and it's going to take smaller movements, lighter weight, and working that cuff. Because I'm guessing when you say you have a shoulder injury, you hurt your rotator cuff. So it's going to take more stability of that rotator cuff, because that humeral head in that cup, there is you do just a tiny bit, I'm talking 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters of movement will cause wear and tear. And so what happens is that round ball, that humeral head that goes into the cup now starts to mushroom. So you get a flat humeral head or femoral head. I mean, if it's in your hip, but that femoral head flattens out. So it's called mushrooming. And so now you got a round cup with a flat. So this is rub. And so if you can help, because over time, let's say you did not get a shoulder replacement and you have mushrooming and you have a cup and that it's getting calcified and you're developing cysts and inflammatory areas, you could get that area calcified and say you're not going to do the shoulder replacement. You can work on the rotator cuff if it's intact and try to stabilize so there's not as much movement. Now, when calcification occurs, you're going to lose movement. You're not going to lose it as much in front of you as behind you, because most people don't do exercises behind them. And so they're going to lose all range of motion. Say if you're a female putting your bra on, you're going to have to put it on, from the front side and then twist it around to the back. You can't reach back. It scratch your back. There's a lot of things you can't do. Tuck in your back shirt. But there's a lot of things that you can't do. So slowly having somebody work with you doing rotator cuff exercises, I think that's awesome. What about a TENS unit and getting those delts, front, side, rear delts stimulated, with a TENS unit? What about infrared therapy through sauna? I believe a lot in heat therapy, although I tend to love cold therapy as well. But, heat therapy is great. Lifter Dave says he has a problem with getting all of his protein macros in as he weighs 230 pounds. So I supplement with protein shakes. Again, if that's what's working for you, I'm guessing, Lifter Dave, I don't know you, but if you're lifting weights, you're 230 pounds, I'm guessing you have a lot of muscle mass. Now, if you have more muscle mass, obviously you can take in more sugar, but it's not so much, Dave, get this through your head. It's not so much the number of protein grams that you take in, it's the quality. If you're not getting good quality, the number of grams you get means nothing. If it's all raising blood sugar and insulin, it's not worth it. But again, you need to make your own decision. So, Carrie, hopefully that answered your question in regards to your injury and the training. I would limit the amount of overhead exercises. In fact, I probably would do a supinated grip whenever I did anything overhead any longer, either supinated or partially supinated. I would not do a pronated over the head because that's just causing more and more impingement. Yeah, you probably were able to do it before, but doing unilateral, so one side at a time, and doing a supinated or partially supinated grip might help whenever you go back to doing overhead, but I think that should be the last thing you add. Doing small movements in the upper half of the like lateral delts or front delts, doing short movements at the top of that and at the bottom and maybe in middles, and we maybe call them sevens. So you 7 at the top, 7 at the bottom, 7 in the middle. You might, and again, these are light weights. So these are just exercises I have done. Jingle says, what are the causes of hair loss in an elderly woman? I would check your thyroid. I would check whether or not you have good amino acids. If you're not getting in enough protein, your hair is going to be the last thing that wants to be sucking up your amino acids that you are taking in. Okay? Your heart wants it. Your brain wants it. Your other organs want it. Your hair don't get any amino acids if you're not taking them in. So you need protein, Jingle, and you need essential fats. You need animal fats. You can use those. Okay? And you need to check your thyroid. Vic says 2 tablespoons of butter per day gives us a perfect amount of C15. Excellent. C15 is kind of in the story these days. I like that. We're learning about a lot about the long, short, medium chain fatty acids, and what people consider a long chain, a person who, even if a person does not eat any fat, they still have saturated fat, long chain fatty acids, because they're likely, if they're not eating any fat, they're eating carbohydrates. So if they're eating carbohydrates, they're making palmitic acid. Palmitic acid is C16, I believe. C16 palmitic acid, I don't want it in me. It's very inflammatory, but it is a long chain fatty acid. So persons who say, I don't get any saturated, let's just say a person who says, I'm not going to eat animals because I don't want the saturated fat, is one, eating coconuts and avocados, that's saturated. And 2, they're actually eating so many carbohydrates that they're actually making their own C16. I believe it's C16, palmitic acid. That's a long chain fatty acid. It's saturated. They're making their own. They don't know that yet. But maybe you guys, if you're listening, you can teach them. Bailey says, are you concerned about your microbiome while eating a carnivore? No. My microbiome will eat what I feed them. If I eat carnivore, they will learn to eat carnivore. You don't need a variety of biome. That is my thought process. There's going to be schools of thought. I'm not telling you I'm right. I'm not telling somebody else is wrong. But I'm telling you, if you eat carnivore, you're going to grow bugs that eat carnivore. If you eat vegan, you're going to grow. They're not eating a variety. They're only eating vegan veggies, plants, right? And they're going to have a biome that eats vegetables, which it doesn't. It breaks it down, it ferments it, and the rest comes out as your crap, Ola, through your butthole, okay? That's what you guys call fiber. That's plants. So no, I'm not worried. My biome is just fine. In fact, it's much better than it ever has been, okay? Gut bloating and cramping is all gone. Stop the plants, it's gone. Carnivore, yes. I feed my biome by feeding it ribeye steaks, ground beef, bison, buffalo, sheep, lamb, some little bit of chicken, a little bit of turkey, a little bit of fish. I eat some tuna and sardines. Sardines are wonderful. I eat, I like liver pate. Metabolism IQ, if you're still listening, I do like liver pate. I like liver sausage. Carrie says, yes, rotator cuff. Yeah, I feel for you. Both of mine are torn. My supraspinatus, they're both torn. I cannot do anything behind me. Don't ask me to scratch my back. Oh, you're welcome, Carrie. Metabolism IQ says non-heme doesn't help. So non-heme iron doesn't help. It's readily available to feed pathogens. Okay, so what Metabolism IQ is saying, when we eat plants, plants are full of non-heme iron. if we want to talk about what feeds pathogens, bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, those are pathogens. They grow in our body. They live rent-free in our body by eating what we consume. They live off of what we consume, okay? If we eat sugar, we feed them all. If we have an abundance of non-heme iron, pathogens that I just mentioned eat that iron. They grow. So it is possible to be harboring pathogens, fungus. If all of you who go into your naturopath and say, oh, I got a buildup of candida. I talked about this yesterday. Yes, you probably do. Because you're eating glycogen or eating glucose, sugar, and you've got a body full of non-heme iron that you can't use. It's not 3% absorbable. Heme iron, 30% absorbable and usable. So you're building up this collection of non-heme iron that basically allows your little pathogens to live rent-free. So me personally, I don't want any fungi growing in me or parasites or bacteria or viruses. That's what cancer is. Cancer is walled off toxins. It's a tumor. An oma, a tumor. It's walled off yuck that your body is using to protect you from. So it walls it off. And then you go and poke a sleeping bear. Poke, 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 poke. Hey, are you in there? Let me poke some out and let it just go wildfire all over your body. I mean, you should really be happy that you have a tumor instead of it just metastasizing all over your body. But why did you get the tumor? What toxins are in it? What are you feeding it? So if you want to feed your cancer and you want to feed your fungus and your parasites, continue with the non-heme iron and add some sugar. I mean, they need dessert. That's my belief. Again, this is information purposes only and not medical advice. But I think that you will find if you continue to listen to people online, they will say the exact same thing. Why don't you go listen to Dr. Seyfried? He's a cancer specialist. Okay? Go listen to Dr. Anthony Chafee. Go listen to, you know what? Just get rid of all the American doctors. Don't even listen to me. Just don't go to Australia, go to Europe. Just listen to them. Why don't you pull up Richard Smith or Stephen Thomas? They don't have to be doctors. Oh, do they have to be doctors? They're smarter than any doctors, trust me. They don't need a medical degree for me to listen to them. But yeah, go outside, start listening to the Down Under, carb Down Under, whatever it is. Listen to all those. Dr. Paul Mason. You'll start finding out that you've been all indoctrinated and you believe whatever they say. They'll give you the food pyramid and tell you to do it. And you'll eat 7, 10, 6 servings of grains. And you'll say, oh, but I don't feel good, but they tell me it's good for me. My gut feels bloated and belching and I'm crapping and I'm constipated and I got diarrhea and I just don't feel very good. And then I need my gallbladder out. Well, why do you need your gallbladder out? You're eating crap. Your gallbladder's not working. It's sluggish. Your liver's not working. Your body is rusting from the inside out and it's growing pathogens and feeding cancers. I hope you don't get them. Oh, Sooner, I just lost your question. My thumbs were, oh gosh. Okay, vitamin D also affects hair loss and hair growth. Yep, check right, Sooner, get your vitamin D level checked. 25 hydroxy. Get that level, get your vitamin D level. Metabolism IQ says bile helps absorb fat, soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Agree. Fiber pulls out bile. Agree. Fiber is, well, you know what? Metabolism IQ, I think you will agree with me. We don't agree everything, Metabolism IQ and I. We do not always agree on everything. But one thing we do agree on is fiber. And I think she would agree on this with me, is that if you are eating carbohydrates, I would definitely get some fiber. If you're not eating carbohydrates, I don't think you need it. There's no essential carbohydrates. Fiber is a carbohydrate. Okay. Plasma says, do you know bratwurst? Do I know bratwurst? I don't know. Is that a person? Do I know what a bratwurst is? Yes. Roasted sausage. My mom loves bratwurst. JP says it's almost like decades of poor health choices increase the risk of chronic disease. And you know what's even worse, JP, is that doctors will just simply tell you as you're aging, you know what, this is normal. It's normal to age like this and just get chronic diseases. I mean, I've actually had a teacher from high school to ask me, is it just basically the aging process that you get diabetes? So everybody who just ages is going to get diabetes? Are you kidding me? That's what they'll tell you though. Oh, you know what? Your pancreas just has got overwhelmed and you ran out of insulin and it's just a normal aging process. It's part of aging. Are you kidding me? That's what doctors will say. And they'll say, you know, you're kind of coming to your end and you've lived a good life and we shouldn't do any heroic things now. Well, why didn't you do any heroic things then and tell people about their diet? They didn't do anything like that. They just gave you medicines and jabbed you with shots, telling you your immune system sucks. And that if you get the immune system poker, then it will help everybody else. How is that possible? No. These people, the reason they're getting diseases, remember, iron and glucose and all the other heavy metals, all of the things that pathogens love to eat and the things that are aging you. You get glycation, you're going to get old. You eat high doses of omega-6 fatty acids, you're going to get old. You eat all non-heme iron and you get it built up in your cells and it destroys them like rust. You're rusting inside. Can you see it? Nope. You can't. Get a picture of your liver. Get an MRI of your liver and you'll be able to tell. And ask them to specifically say, how much fat is around my liver? In fact, you can get a cross-section of your quad and see how much fat you have inside your muscle, if you even have muscle. Yeah, you got Wagyu beef on your legs and your arms. That's not a good way to be. You don't want organ fat. Okay? Subcutaneous fat's much better than organ fat. But yeah, JP, it is sickening the way doctors will. It's bad. We think that as you get old, you're just going to get a disease. I'm going to defy that. Okay? I'll probably die long before that. I'll probably fall and I always say I'm going to trip on a crack on the sidewalk, fall and hit my head on the curb and get a subdural hematoma and just go. And maybe that would be the best way to go see Jesus. I don't know, but to live like the way doctors want us to live is just live a good life. Go to work and do your thing and do whatever, whatever they say is good, a good life. Whatever their life is like, it must be a good life, okay? Because who wants to look like their doctor, right? Who wants to look? Have you seen some of the athletic trainers out there? Do you see the doctors out there? They're smoking in the bathrooms. Yeah, them. The ones that are eating a bunch of crap and they have coronary artery disease and they were out for a short period of time while they were recovering from their coronary artery bypass graft. Yeah, them. I don't know. Who are you guys listening to? They're telling you what they said, just try to eat better. What does that mean, doctor? Well, I don't know. Do you want to see a nutritionist? Oh, that's even better. They got the same indoctrination as the doctors. The medical schools, the nutrition schools, they all got the same teaching in America. I don't know about overseas, but yeah, Miss Stan, preach. I'm trying not to preach. I get passionate about this because I want you guys to be healthy. Even if what I'm saying, Miss Stan, even if what I'm saying is absolutely wrong, I actually woke up brain cells in your head to get you to start thinking. And that's what I really want you to do. I want to wake up your brain cells, get you to start thinking for yourself instead of what people are just blabbering, what all the three-letter agencies are telling you to do. Yes, walk your dogs. Have a wonderful day, Metabolism IQ. Walk your dogs. Get out in nature. Get in the sun. Do your thing. Okay? That is awesome. But you guys, I want to help you start thinking for yourself instead of just taking at face value what people are telling you is okay and is going to, they're the same people that are saying, you know what, you've lived a good life. You've lived a good life. You're bound to get something. Well, what if you're not? What if you're not? Justin says, unless I grow my own food, I'm screwed. Is that a possibility, Justin, that you can grow your own food? Because if it is, that's awesome. Miss Dan says, I love listening to you. You're exactly right. Thank you. No, nobody is safe. Well, yeah, I know you were mentioning about universities. I mean, universities are taking money from the government, and they're going to give you the protocol. The curriculum is written by the three-letter agencies. If you go to a college, I mean, there's less chance of, but they're still getting government funding. I mean, there's just a few schools. I think Hard Work University in Missouri. There's Hillsdale College. There's Liberty. Those are, I believe they are not taking any money whatsoever with, from the government, and maybe look for schools like that. So there are workarounds. There's homeschooling, and honestly, does everybody go to a university and get a college degree? There are so many so intelligent business owners, multi whatevers, and they never went to college, and they're doing just fine. Okay, they never went to a university. They force doctors and lawyers and all of the highly educated, because those people are really, really smart, and so they need even more years to indoctrinate them to get them on their side. If you work indoors, is D3 and K2 enough? I would take it. I would try to get whole foods with D, vitamin D and K. So, but if you have to, take a supplement. Savage Fox says, I had a university that tried to charge me more than $10,000 for a birth of them delivering a baby, that they refused to follow the laws or HIPAA protocol and forced to hurt my baby. I'm sorry to hear that you had a terrible experience at a university. Sounds like a university hospital. I'm sorry to hear that. Sooner says, I have a professional degree, a JD. I've learned more outside of school than I ever learned in school. I would have to agree with Sooner. Okay. All right, you guys. I think that is it for the questions for today. We do this every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central and every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. If you're looking for a consult or you need labs ordered, you can email me or message me. Email is IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. So you guys have a blessed Sunday, and we'll see you later. Thanks for listening, you guys. Share, do the clickety clack. See ya.